close your eyes, and let the whispers of ancient Greece carry you back thousands of years to a world where gods walked among mortals, where monsters hid beyond forgotten seas, and where one young hero was chosen by fate. Tonight, beneath the gentle sound of the ocean waves and the distant songs of forgotten temples, you will hear the legendary tale of Perseus, the child born from a golden light, the warrior who challenged destiny, and the hero who faced the terrifying gaze of Medusa. A journey of courage, mystery, and ancient secrets awaits. So relax, breathe slowly, and allow yourself to drift into the timeless world of Greek mythology. The prophecy of a golden child. Long before the great heroes walked upon the earth, before the songs of warriors filled the halls of ancient kingdoms, there was a quiet land called Argos, a place of golden fields, towering mountains, and ancient stone temples where people whispered prayers to the gods above. In the grand palace of Argos lived a powerful king named Perseus. He was a ruler respected by many, but deep inside, his heart lived a fear that no crown, no army, and no treasure could ever remove. Perseus had one great sorrow. He had no son to inherit his throne. His only child was a daughter named Danae, a young woman known throughout the kingdom for her beauty, kindness, and gentle spirit. Although Danae brought joy to many, Perseus worried about the future of his kingdom. One night, beneath the endless stars of the Greek sky, the king traveled to the ancient oracle at Delphi. The temple was surrounded by mist and silence, and the air carried the mysterious presence of the gods. There, he asked the oracle, a question that would change his destiny forever. "Will I ever have a son who will continue my bloodline?" Perseus asked. The oracle remained silent for a moment. Then, through a voice filled with the power of prophecy, the answer came. "King Perseus, you shall never have a son, but your daughter Danae will give birth to a child, and that child will one day become the cause of your death." The words echoed through the sacred temple. Perseus stood frozen. A child, his own grandson, a boy who had not yet been born, would one day take his life. Fear entered the king's heart like a cold wind through an open door. On his journey back to Argos, the king could think of nothing else. Every step he took, every sound of the horses pulling his chariot, reminded him of the prophecy. He imagined a future where a young warrior would rise against him and take away everything he had built. But instead of accepting the will of fate, Perseus decided to fight against it. When he returned to his palace, he looked upon his daughter Danae with sadness. He loved her, but his fear was stronger than his love. Deep beneath the palace, he ordered the construction of a hidden chamber made of bronze and stone. It was a place without windows, without doors to the outside world, and without any chance of escape. There he locked Danae away. The young princess lived alone in the darkness beneath the earth. The golden sunlight that once touched her face disappeared. The songs of birds and the voices of the people vanished. Only the quiet sound of her own thoughts remained. Days became weeks, weeks became months. Yet even in the darkest places, hope can find a way to shine. Danae would sit in her chamber and look upward, wondering if the gods could see her suffering. She did not know what destiny had prepared for her. She did not know that her life was about to become part of a legend that would be remembered for thousands of years. Then, one peaceful night, something extraordinary happened. The sky above Argos became brighter than ever before. The stars seemed to move closer to the earth, and a golden light entered the hidden chamber where Danae rested. The light was warm and gentle, like the first rays of dawn after a long winter night. It was the presence of Zeus, the king of the gods. No mortal wall could stop the will of the heavens. No prison could hold back destiny. From that divine encounter, Danae would soon bring a child into the world, a child touched by the power of the gods, a child who would carry a destiny greater than any king could imagine. When the baby was born, Danae looked down at him with tears in her eyes. She did not see a danger or a prophecy. She saw only her son. She named him Perseus. The infant slept peacefully in her arms, unaware of the battles, monsters, and mysteries waiting for him in the years ahead. Far above the earth, the gods watched quietly. They knew that this child would one day face creatures feared by all mankind. He He would cross seas, enter lands of darkness, and stand before a monster whose gaze could turn men into stone. But on this quiet night, Perseus was simply a child beneath the stars, a child born from a golden light, a child whose story had only just begun. The boy who grew beyond the sea. The birth of Perseus brought both joy and fear into the hidden chamber beneath the palace of Argos. For many months, Danae tried to protect her newborn son from the world outside. She held him close, sang gentle songs to him, and watched as he grew beneath the faint glow of the chamber's small opening. Though she lived in darkness, her heart was filled with light because of the child in her arms. But secrets rarely remain hidden forever. One day, King Acrisius heard a sound coming from the underground chamber. It was not the silence he expected. It was the soft cry of a child. His heart became heavy with fear. The prophecy had come true. Danae had given birth to a son. The king rushed to the chamber and found his daughter holding the child. For a moment, he stood still. He looked at the small face of his grandson, a child who had done nothing wrong, a child who knew nothing of prophecies or kingdoms. But fear had already taken control of Acrisius. He could not bring himself to kill his own daughter and grandson, yet he also could not ignore the words of the oracle. Believing he could escape destiny, he ordered a large wooden chest to be built. The people of Argos watched in silence as Danae and the baby Perseus were placed inside the chest. Danae held her son tightly as the waves waited beyond the shore. "Do not be afraid, my child," she whispered. "The gods watch over us, even when we cannot see them." The chest was pushed into the endless sea. The waves carried them away from Argos, away from the palace, and away from the life they had once known. For days and nights, mother and child drifted across the vast waters. The ocean was unpredictable. Sometimes the sea was calm, and the stars reflected like silver jewels upon the surface. Other times, powerful storms shook the chest, and the waves rose like mountains around them. Danae prayed to the gods above. She asked only for one thing, not wealth, not power, not revenge. She asked for her son to survive. And the gods listened. After many days, the chest finally reached the shores of a distant island called Seriphos. There, a fisherman named Dictys discovered it while walking along the beach. Curious about the strange object resting among the waves, he opened the chest and found Danae and the young child inside. Instead of turning away, Dictys welcomed them with kindness. He brought them to his home and offered them shelter. He was not a wealthy man, nor did he have a grand palace, but he had something far more valuable, a generous heart. On the small island of Seriphos, Perseus began his life as a normal boy. He grew up beside the sea, listening to the sound of waves crashing against the rocks, and watching fishermen return with their boats at sunset. He learned the ways of the ocean, the strength of patience, and the importance of courage. As the years passed, the child born from a golden light became a strong and noble young man. Perseus did not know that he was the son of Zeus. He did not know that a great prophecy followed his footsteps. He only knew the love of his mother and the kindness of the fishermen who raised him. But destiny was quietly waiting. On the island of Seriphos, a new ruler had risen. King Polydectes watched the young hero grow stronger each year. At first, he saw Perseus as only a fisherman's son, but soon he would discover that this young man carried the blood of gods, and the world would begin to hear the name of Perseus. The impossible quest begins. Years passed on the peaceful island of Seriphos, and Perseus grew from a curious child into a brave and powerful young man. The boy who once drifted helplessly across the sea had become a strong warrior with a kind heart. He was respected by the people of the island because he was not only skilled with a sword and shield, but also because he always protected those who were weaker than himself. Perseus spent his days helping the fishermen, exploring the shores, and caring for his mother Danae. The two of them had built a quiet life far away from the dangers of Argos. They believed the darkness of the past had finally disappeared, but fate never forgets its promises. On Seriphos lived King Polydectes, a ruler who desired power, wealth, and admiration above all else. When he first saw Danae, he was captivated by her beauty. He wanted her to become his queen. But there was one problem. Perseus stood between them. The young hero loved his mother deeply, and he would never allow anyone to force her into a life she did not choose. Every time Polydectes approached Danae with his wishes, Perseus stood beside her like a shield. The king began to see Perseus, not as a young man, but as an obstacle. Slowly, a plan formed inside his mind. Polydectes announced that he would hold a great gathering in the palace. Many nobles and warriors from across the island were invited. During the feast, the guests began speaking about heroes, battles, and great accomplishments. The king turned toward Perseus with a smile. "Tell us, young Perseus," he said, "what great gift would you offer to a king?" Many warriors brought treasures, horses, and gold. Perseus, who owned very little, felt embarrassed. "I would give anything that I could truly obtain," he replied. The king smiled. "Then perhaps you are brave enough to bring me the head of Medusa." The room became silent. Everyone knew the name of Medusa. She was one of the 3 Gorgon sisters, creatures who lived beyond the known lands of men. Her hair was made of living snakes, and her eyes carried a terrible curse. Anyone who looked directly into her gaze would instantly be transformed into stone. Many warriors had searched for her. None had returned. The request was not a challenge. It was a death sentence. But Perseus, unaware of the king's true intentions, lifted his head with courage. "If that is what you ask, then I will do it." The people in the hall whispered in fear. Even the bravest warriors would not dare to face such a creature. But Perseus had something that many heroes lacked. He had a heart untouched by arrogance. He was not seeking fame or glory. He was protecting his mother. After leaving the palace, Perseus stood alone beside the sea. The waves moved gently beneath the moonlight, but his thoughts were filled with uncertainty. How could a mortal defeat a monster who could kill with a single glance? Where could he find Medusa's hidden island? How could he survive a battle that had destroyed countless warriors before him? As he looked toward the endless horizon, a strange feeling came over him. He was not alone. The gods had been watching Perseus since the night of his birth. They knew his courage. They knew his heart. And now, as he stepped toward an impossible journey, the heavens began to move. The son of Zeus was about to discover his true destiny. The path ahead would lead him through ancient mysteries, forgotten lands, and dangers beyond imagination. He would face creatures born from nightmares. He would stand where no hero had stood before. And at the end of his journey, beneath the silent stars, he would meet the terrifying guardian of stone and shadow, Medusa. The path of the gods and monsters. The journey of Perseus had begun. Leaving behind the familiar shores of Seriphos, the young hero traveled across unknown lands in search of the creature feared by all mortals, Medusa of the Gorgon sisters. But Perseus knew that courage alone would not be enough. A warrior could carry the strongest sword and wear the heaviest armor, yet still fall before a danger that could not be defeated by ordinary strength. The world beyond Seriphos was filled with secrets. Ancient forests hid forgotten paths, mountains touched the clouds, and distant seas carried whispers of monsters that had existed since the earliest days of creation. As Perseus walked through these mysterious lands, he wondered if he had truly been chosen for such a task. Then, beneath a quiet sky, the first sign of divine help appeared. A gentle wind moved through the trees, and suddenly, a figure appeared before him. It was Hermes, the messenger of the gods, carrying his shining golden staff. Hermes looked upon Perseus with a knowing smile. "Son of Zeus," he said, "your journey is dangerous, but you will not walk this path alone." Perseus was surprised. Until that moment, he had never known the truth of his birth. He had lived as a simple fisherman's son, never imagining that the blood of the gods flowed through his veins. Hermes explained that the gods had watched over him since his birth. His courage, kindness, and loyalty had earned their respect. But even with divine blood, Perseus remained mortal. To defeat Medusa, he would need wisdom more than strength. Hermes guided him toward the temple of Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. There, beneath ancient pillars, carved with stories of heroes and battles, Perseus met the goddess herself. Athena appeared with calm and powerful presence. In her hands, she carried a polished bronze shield that reflected like a mirror. Medusa cannot be defeated by looking at her, Athena told him. Her eyes carry a curse. Any warrior who meets her gaze will become stone. You must fight without seeing her directly. She gave Perseus the shining shield. Use this reflection to guide your hand. Let wisdom defeat what strength cannot. The young hero accepted the gift with gratitude. But the gods knew he needed more than a shield. Hermes gave him a special sword, a blade stronger than any weapon made by mortal hands. Its edge could cut through dangers that ordinary weapons could not overcome. With the gifts of the gods, Perseus continued his search. Yet the path to Medusa was hidden from the world. No map showed the location of the Gorgon sisters. No sailor dared to travel near their island. To find them, Perseus first had to seek the ancient sisters known as the Grei. The Grei were mysterious beings who shared one single eye and one single tooth among themselves. They were older than most creatures in the world, and they guarded secrets that no mortal could discover. Perseus traveled beyond mountains and across empty valleys until he reached their hidden home. The land around them was silent and cold. There were no birds singing and no flowers growing. It felt like a place forgotten by time. When the Grei saw Perseus approaching, they knew he had come searching for answers, but they refused to help him. They believed their secrets should remain hidden forever. Perseus waited patiently. He did not attack them. He did not threaten them. Instead, he used cleverness instead of force. When the three sisters passed their single eye between them, Perseus quickly took it and held it safely away. "Tell me where I can find the Gorgons," he said calmly. The Grei had no choice but to reveal the path. They told him of the distant island surrounded by darkness, where Medusa slept among her sisters. With the knowledge he needed, Perseus returned the eye and continued his journey. Ahead waited the land of monsters. Behind him were the blessings of the gods, and between them stood one impossible challenge, the Gorgon Medusa. The hero walked onward beneath the endless sky, carrying the weapons of heaven and the courage of a true warrior. Soon, he would enter a place where even the bravest men had lost their lives. Soon he would face the creature whose gaze could turn legends into stone. The shadow of Medusa. Far beyond the lands known to ordinary sailors, beyond the endless waves and forgotten shores, there existed a dark and mysterious island where the Gorgons lived. It was a place untouched by sunlight. The winds moved strangely there, carrying whispers of fear across the empty landscape. Ancient trees stood like silent guardians, their branches twisted by time. The rocks were cold and lifeless, and the ground was scattered with statues of warriors who had come searching for glory, but had never returned. These were not ordinary statues. They were once men who had looked into the eyes of Medusa, and now they remained frozen forever, their final moments captured in stone. As Perseus approached the island, he felt the weight of the danger before him. The sea around the shore was unusually quiet. Even the waves seemed afraid to make a sound. He stepped onto the land carefully, holding the gifts of the gods close to him. The shield of Athena reflected the world around him like a calm pool of water. The sword of Hermes rested at his side, ready for the battle that awaited. But before he could face Medusa, Perseus needed to understand the creature he was hunting. For Medusa was not always a monster. Long before she became known as the Gorgon with the deadly gaze, Medusa had been a beautiful young woman. Ancient stories told that she once served in the temple of Athena. She was admired for her beauty, and many people traveled great distances just to see her. But beauty often brings attention, and attention can bring suffering. According to the legends, a terrible event changed Medusa's life forever. After anger and tragedy entered her story, Athena transformed her appearance and cursed her with a terrifying form. Her beautiful hair became a nest of living snakes. Her gentle face became a symbol of fear. Her eyes gained a power no mortal could survive. From that day forward, Medusa was no longer seen as a woman. She became a monster, feared by the world. But deep inside the darkness, some believed there was still a trace of the person she once had been, a soul trapped beneath a curse. Perseus did not know all the secrets of Medusa's past. He only knew the mission before him. He had come to end a threat that had taken many innocent lives. As he moved deeper into the island, he saw signs of the Gorgon's presence everywhere. The silence was unnatural. The air felt heavy. The shadows seemed to move even when the wind was still. Finally, he reached the entrance of a hidden cave. Inside, the darkness seemed endless. Perseus stopped. He knew that beyond those stone walls waited the creature he had traveled so far to find. One mistake would end everything. One glance would turn him into stone. He slowly raised Athena's shield and looked only at the reflection. Through the polished bronze, he saw the cave behind him. And then, he saw them. 3 figures sleeping in the darkness, the Gorgon sisters. 2 of them were immortal and powerful. But one was different. Medusa, the mortal Gorgon. Even while she slept, snakes moved upon her head, hissing softly in the shadows. Her presence filled the cave with danger. Perseus watched carefully through the reflection of his shield. His heart beat faster. Every instinct told him to run. But he remembered his mother. He remembered the people who believed in him. He remembered the gods who had guided him. Courage was not the absence of fear. Courage was moving forward despite fear. Slowly, silently, Perseus stepped closer. The cave became colder. The darkness grew deeper. The moment he had been preparing for had finally arrived. The hero of Argos stood before the shadow of Medusa. And with one final step, the battle between a mortal hero and a legendary monster was about to begin. The battle beneath the silent stars, inside the ancient cave of the Gorgons. Time seemed to stand still. The only sound was the quiet movement of the snakes upon Medusa's head, and the distant whisper of the wind passing through cracks in the stone walls. Perseus stood frozen, holding the shield of Athena before him. He did not look directly at Medusa. He knew that one moment of carelessness would end his journey forever. Through the reflection of the bronze shield, he watched every movement. The creature before him was both terrifying and tragic. Medusa slept peacefully, unaware that a hero had entered her dark sanctuary. Around her lay the remains of forgotten warriors who had once believed they were strong enough to defeat her. But Perseus was different. He did not rely only on his strength. He carried the wisdom of Athena, the speed of Hermes, and the courage that had grown inside his heart since childhood. Slowly, he moved forward. Each step echoed through the cave. The sound grew louder. The darkness seemed to awaken. Then, one of the snakes upon Medusa's head suddenly lifted itself. The creature sensed danger. The hiss traveled through the cave like a warning. Medusa's eyes began to open. Perseus knew the moment had come. He quickly looked only at the reflection in his shield. Through the bronze surface, he saw Medusa rising from the ground. Her eyes searched the darkness. Her voice filled the cave. "Who dares enter my home?" The sound was unlike anything Perseus had ever heard. It carried the pain of years spent alone, mixed with the anger of a creature feared by all. Perseus did not answer. He remained focused. Medusa moved closer, searching for her enemy. She could not see him clearly, but she felt his presence. The battle had begun. Perseus followed the reflection in the shield, carefully avoiding her deadly gaze. Every movement had to be perfect. Every strike had to happen at the right moment. The Gorgon moved quickly. She was not simply a monster waiting in the darkness. She was powerful. She was ancient. She had survived countless attempts from warriors who believed they could defeat her. Medusa attacked with incredible speed, but Perseus moved away just in time. The cave walls shook as her power struck the stone around him. The young hero understood that courage alone would not save him. He needed patience. He needed wisdom. He waited for the perfect moment. Through the shield's reflection, he saw Medusa turn away for a brief second. The gods had given him this chance. Perseus stepped forward. With Hermes' sword in his hand, he delivered one swift and powerful strike. The cave became silent. The movement stopped. The battle was over. Perseus stood still, breathing heavily, unable to believe what had happened. The monster who had frightened the world for so long had fallen. But as he looked at Medusa's lifeless form, he did not feel victory or pride. He felt sorrow, because behind the terrifying creature was a story of loss and suffering, a life changed forever by a curse. Perseus carefully took what he had come for, the head of Medusa. Even in death, her power remained, and he knew it could not be treated carelessly. He placed it safely away and prepared to leave the cave, but the island was not finished with him yet. The ground began to tremble. The other Gorgon sisters awakened and discovered what had happened. Their cries filled the night sky. They searched for Perseus, desperate to find the one who had defeated their sister. But the gods had prepared for this moment as well. Using the magical gifts given to him, Perseus escaped into the darkness. The winged sandals of Hermes carried him away from danger. The silent stars watched as the young hero flew across the night sky, carrying the proof of his impossible victory. Behind him remained the island of monsters. Ahead waited a world that had not yet heard his name. Perseus had entered the darkness as a young man searching for a way to survive. He left as a legend, but his greatest adventures were still waiting beyond the horizon. The hero who carried a monster's head. After escaping the island of the Gorgons, Perseus traveled across the vast skies and endless seas, carrying the head of Medusa safely hidden away. The journey had changed him. He was no longer the young man who left Seriphos with uncertainty in his heart. He had faced a creature that terrified entire kingdoms and had survived a challenge that seemed impossible. Yet Perseus did not feel like a conqueror. He did not celebrate the defeat of Medusa. Instead, he carried the memory of the Gorgon with quiet respect. He understood that every legend had a hidden story, and every creature, no matter how frightening, had a past. As he traveled across distant lands, the power of Medusa's head remained both a gift and a danger. Even after death, the Gorgon's gaze could still turn living beings into stone. So Perseus kept it carefully covered, using it only when absolutely necessary. Days passed as he journeyed beneath the endless sky. Then, one evening, as the golden light of sunset spread across the horizon, Perseus saw something that stopped him. Far below, near the edge of the sea, a young woman was chained to a cliff. Her name was Andromeda. She was the daughter of King Cepheus and Queen Cassiopeia, rulers of a distant kingdom. But now she stood alone against the waves, waiting for a terrible fate. Perseus descended and approached the shore. He saw fear in the eyes of the people gathered nearby. They told him a great sea monster had been sent to destroy their land. The reason was simple. Cassiopeia had angered the sea gods by claiming that her daughter's beauty surpassed even that of the sea nymphs. As punishment, a terrifying creature from the depths was sent to the kingdom. The only way to stop the destruction was to offer Andromeda as a sacrifice. Perseus looked at the young woman standing against the rocks. She was not a warrior. She had done nothing wrong, yet she had been chosen to suffer for the mistakes of others. The hero could not walk away. "I will save her," Perseus said. As the ocean waves grew louder, the sea monster appeared. It rose from the water like a living mountain. The people of the kingdom trembled in fear. But Perseus had faced darkness before. He had stood inside the cave of Medusa. He had looked into the face of death and survived. Now, he flew into the air with the help of Hermes' winged sandals and prepared for another battle. The creature attacked with enormous strength, but Perseus moved quickly through the sky. He knew that defeating such a monster with ordinary weapons would be difficult. Then he remembered the power he carried, the head of Medusa. With great care, Perseus revealed the Gorgon's face. The sea monster moved toward him. One moment later, the creature froze. Its body became silent and still. The terrifying beast that had haunted the kingdom was transformed into stone. The people watched in amazement. The hero who carried a monster's head had saved them all. Andromeda was freed from the chains, and for the first time in many days, she felt the warmth of hope. The kingdom celebrated Perseus as a great hero, but he remained humble. He knew that his victory was not only his own. Without the guidance of Athena, the help of Hermes, and the courage given to him by his mother, he would never have completed his journey. The story of Perseus began as a prophecy of fear. A king had tried to escape destiny by sending a child away, but destiny could not be stopped. The child who was cast into the sea had become a hero whose name would echo through the ages. And as the stars appeared above the ancient world, Perseus continued his journey not as a man searching for glory, but as a protector, carrying the wisdom of his experiences. The son of a mortal woman and a god had discovered his purpose, and the world would never forget the hero who defeated Medusa. The eternal legend of Perseus and Medusa. As the years passed, the name of Perseus traveled beyond the shores of Greece. From small villages beside the sea to great kingdoms surrounded by mountains, people told stories of the hero who faced impossible challenges and returned victorious. But the legend of Perseus was never only about defeating monsters. It was a story about courage. It was a story about destiny. And it was a story about a young man who discovered that true strength comes not only from power, but from wisdom, compassion, and the willingness to protect others. After his great adventures, Perseus returned to the world as a respected hero. He had faced dangers that most people could only imagine. He had walked into the darkness of Medusa's cave, crossed unknown lands, and battled creatures that seemed impossible to defeat. Yet through every victory, he remained the same person he had always been. The child who once floated helplessly across the sea, the boy who grew up beside the waves, the young man who loved his mother and refused to allow fear to control his heart. The gods had given Perseus special gifts, but it was his humanity that made him truly legendary. The story of Medusa also lived on through the ages. To many, she remained the terrifying Gorgon, whose gaze could turn living beings into stone. But beneath the fear was another story, a story of tragedy, transformation, and the mysteries of the ancient world. Medusa became a symbol of many things: danger and protection, fear and strength, beauty and sorrow. Even after thousands of years, her image continued to appear in art, stories, and legends. The Greeks believed that heroes and monsters were not simply characters in old tales. They represented the struggles that existed within every human heart. Perseus represented courage in the face of fear. Medusa represented the hidden dangers and painful experiences that can change a person forever. Their stories became connected, forever bound together in the memory of humanity. When people looked at the night sky and saw the stars shining above the ancient world, they remembered the heroes who once walked beneath them. They remembered the young warrior who carried a divine shield. They remembered the creature whose eyes held a terrible power. They remembered a journey that began with a prophecy and ended with a legend. And perhaps the greatest lesson of Perseus' story was this: a person's beginning does not decide their ending. Perseus was born in a hidden chamber, separated from his home, and abandoned to the mercy of the sea. Yet he became one of the greatest heroes of ancient mythology. His journey showed that even in the darkest moments, hope can survive. So tonight, as the world grows quiet and the stars shine softly above, the ancient tale of Perseus and Medusa continues to whisper through time. A story of gods and monsters, a story of fear and bravery, a story of a hero who looked into darkness and found the courage to move forward. And beneath the endless sky, the legend of Perseus lives forever.